Hello everyone, welcome to our first webinar of 2018, How to Sell Cybersecurity. I'm joined by Praveen, our Master Trainer, and Head of Services, Muawiyah. So first of all, we'll go over the current cybersecurity climate and then what the Ingram micro approach is to the market, followed by our portfolio and services, and then why this is important for our business partners. Followed by some trainings. We have some new trainings, which Praveen is very excited to talk to you about, and then I'll give you an update on Ingram micro cybersecurity. Over to Praveen.
Thank you, Jessica. And hello, everybody. My name is Praveen Joseph. I'm a cybersecurity consultant and trainer at the Ingram micro cybersecurity team, based here in the Dubai office, and I'm really honored to have an opportunity to speak with you guys today. So thanks, Jess, for setting the context, and what we've got lined up over the next few minutes is give you a quick overview really of how the cybersecurity market has been doing. We look at some of the top trends as well as events that happened in the cybersecurity industry, predominantly over the last 12 months, and also try to predict where things are going to go over the next few years also. We'll also look at what our focus areas are and how we are foreseeing where we'll be able to add value to the market and how we have structured our solutions. So the agenda over the next few minutes will be, I will give you this overview of the market and how we are approaching this market. Further to that, I'm going to pass it over to Muawiyah, like Jessica said. Muawiyah is going to talk more about what solutions we have developed in order to address the requirements of organizations within cybersecurity, what services we have, and how exactly we are offering them. Further to that, I'm going to take the mic back, and like Jess said, I have a lot of exciting news to share about the trainings. One keyword I'll give you is it's all about GDPR that I'm so excited about, so we will be discussing that as well. Great, so this will be followed by an update by Jessica. Great, so let's get going, guys. We hope to have a really exciting session with you. I'm going to start with how things had actually turned out for the cybersecurity industry last year. Given that we are in Jan of 2018, everybody's gearing up for the new year and looking forward to challenges, so to speak, within cybersecurity. So with this particular context, it really makes sense to look at how things happened, how things turned out last year for the industry per se. Now, if you look at the slide up on your screen, you'll see that things have been pretty eventful. Just to be a little conservative at the end of the day. So things were pretty eventful in the Gulf region. So for instance, UAE had to fight off more than 600 cyber attacks within just 10 months of 2017. And I believe 600 here is still a conservative estimate. There definitely were bigger and more serious cyber attacks as well, which may probably have not been reported. But at minimum, this country, the United Arab Emirates, had faced 615 cyber attacks. Almost all of them were against government entities as well as semi-government entities. And these were effectively fought off by the organizations based on their cybersecurity infrastructure, cyber defense mechanisms that they had in place. Things were a lot more eventful with KSA, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where we had a lot more cyber attacks. In fact, the number does not even compare. 60 million cyber attacks were recorded against Saudi Arabian organizations last year. Okay, so this is definitely very indicative of the fact that the region is facing a huge amount of activity in the area of cyber attack. Targeted attacks as well as opportunistic attacks is what we feel are really hitting the region. Predominantly targeted, of course. But things were no different even on the world stage. If you look at the lower left of your screen, you see that Equifax, one of the most oldest and most reputed credit reporting agencies in the United States, suffered a really massive cyber attack. I'm sure you would have heard about this because it came out on the 8th of September last year. 143 million Americans' personal data records were actually breached in this particular incident. And the organization, Equifax as a whole, came under fire for the way in which it managed the aftermath of the incident. So the management, the leadership of this organization were criticized very largely for not taking accountability, for not being, for not taking upon themselves ownership for the way things turned out. a reputation that had been built over more than 100 years of existence of this particular organization. The reputation was damaged just by this one particular outfall. So the breach itself was not small: 143 million American citizens and residents, and plus people in the United Kingdom as well as other European countries were also reportedly affected by this particular breach. And on the lower right of your screen, you see that ransomware was one of the biggest trends in this industry to have occurred last year. In fact, WannaCry and Petya, these are the two keywords, the two major cyber attacks that made cyber security as a whole a household name across organizations. Many organizations across the world suffered simultaneous attacks as a result of these two massive ransomware attacks. Maersk, the largest shipping company in the world, is just one of the examples. Another mega corporation that was hit is Rosneft, which is the largest oil production company in Russia. So organizations of all sizes and all shapes were effectively hit by these two major ransomware attacks. So guys, to sum it up, we have only given you a small snapshot of the cyber attacks that occurred, the major events and incidents that occurred in this industry last year. But you can imagine cybersecurity is gaining seriousness as well as importance across governments' agendas with every passing year. So 2017 was no different from the years preceding it, and we expect a lot more activity, a lot more attacks as well as defense mechanisms coming up this year as well. So guys, from this particular message, from this particular slide, the message we really need to take is, what is the financial impact that organizations are facing? Like you must have guessed, these breaches have obviously cost organizations as well as governments a lot of money, a lot of loss at the end of the day, both in terms of financial terms as well as reputational damage, like in the case of Equifax, or lost productivity, as well as a whole host of other factors. Lost trust of customers is one of these factors as well. So these are some figures that you see up here on your slide, which share that the average cost of an incident has risen to as much as $4 million. This is a figure from 2016, which was based on a study conducted by Ponemon Institute in partnership with IBM. But just a few days back, I was looking at the latest report from the 2017 version, and I've seen that the figures have still been rising. In fact, what was $4 million, the cost of one incident in 2016, has now risen to $17 million in 2017. So like you can see, the cost of a cybersecurity incident has been increasing steadily. And to give you the example with Equifax, the overall cost of the entire incident to the organization was as much as $90 million. So the average figure that you see here is a global figure taken by considering countries across the world. But just to give you one example, with Equifax, the overall cost to the organization from the cybersecurity outbreak of September 2017 was as much as $89 to $90 million. All right, plus factor in the lost reputation, the lost customer confidence, and all the other factors, right? The cost per record has also been increasing on average. In fact, it was as much as $158 per data record. But just so you're a little clearer on what I mean by record, a record is basically a piece of data that uniquely identifies an individual. So it can be a national ID number, it can be your card numbers, it can be your health account number, and anything that uniquely identifies you. So with each record that is breached, you can imagine the cost for one, the cost to the company is as much as $158. Usually, in the case of breaches, the number of records that is lost goes to the tune of several hundred million. So to go back again to Equifax, it was 143 million records that were lost. So 143 million times 158, you do the math. A lot of money is basically involved in these incidents. And who are the entities carrying out these attacks? This is exactly what we are trying to represent here on the slide. We have multiple categories of cyber criminals, those who are operational predominantly on the dark web, as well as those who mingle with entities such as you and me on a day-to-day basis, experts in the fields of social engineering, experts in carrying out very complex cyber attacks against large organizations, right? But what really needs to be considered when you're trying to differentiate these entities is, what is a motive for their attack? Are they really entities with an agenda against an organization or against a nation state? If yes, then these are people who carry out targeted attacks. And most cases, these guys have really strong motives, really strong motivation to carry out their attack. Plus, they have financial backing, they have resources, and they have very, very steady and very defined targets for their attacks. So these are the entities that have to be feared the most. And predominantly, these are entities that carry out cross-border, cross-nation cybersecurity attacks, attacks against a country's national infrastructure, the power grid, for example, right? So these are the entities who carry out these such attacks against governments, nation states, for various reasons. All right. Plus, we have opportunistic attacks, individuals who are usually, after fame or after reputation, script kiddies, hacktivists, those who are simply trying to carry out attacks and see what really comes out of it. A classic example is phishing emails that you receive, generic emails that are not specifically addressed to anybody in particular, but they just, shot out to a large audience, hoping that somebody will really pick something out of it and fall for the bait. Right. So with this background, how are we from Ingram Micro approaching the market? I hope I was able to set a little bit of context to you on how we see the market and what are the trends that have been, that have been turning out or evolving, so to speak, over the last 12 months. To sum it up, there has been a lot of activity, a lot of money involved as well. How are we from Ingram Micro approaching the cybersecurity market? We feel that, to effectively address cybersecurity, an organization really needs to take a three-pronged approach. And that is exactly what you see here. Guys, the terminologies that you see here on the slide are not really something new. These are terminologies that you hear being thrown around a lot these days in tech speak. So we're talking about people, processes, and technologies. And although this is not something very new, not something very unique, it is very, very important, especially to cybersecurity, because especially in most of the regions that we deal with, customers still exist under the misunderstanding that investing in technological solutions, technology-based solutions for cybersecurity is sufficient to meet their requirements. So for instance, if I need to be certified in, let's say, a standard like PCI DSS or ISO 27001, one of the requirements in PCI is that I should have a firewall at every perimeter points, for instance, let's say. So customers still have the assumption that just deploying the firewall, configuring it, defining the ACLs on the firewall is sufficient to meet the requirement. So yes, maybe you're compliant with PCI at the end of the day, but still, are you really secure enough? The answer is no, because you need to have defined processes around managing this firewall. So you should have change management processes. You should have a mechanism for granting people access to the firewall, who's the firewall administrator, and what is the process for tracking his or her activities on the firewall, so log management. So a whole set of processes need to be defined around this, and this is really something that has to come in from the top. So your senior management has to define these processes and approve of them, at least within your policies and procedures. And from there, it has to cascade down to the various layers of the organization. So yes, you need to define these processes for your organization. And that is where consultancy solutions come in. Mauvia is going to be talking more about this. And the last leg of this tripod is your people. Making sure that people are really aware of what roles they play in cybersecurity. So when you go to to the average organization, you might be lucky if you have a cybersecurity or an information security team within this organization. But the rest of the teams within the organization, like for instance, finance, HR, administration, etc., cybersecurity or information security is largely Greek and Latin to these guys. So when you talk to them about password security or data loss prevention, some of them do get the message, they understand the importance of it, but how effectively do they follow it? How much confidence do they have when they say that, yes, I know about phishing, for instance, and I know what to do if I receive a phishing email? The answer is not very much. Okay, and this is a state of affairs today, and this is something that we recognize. So towards this is why we have built a whole suite of cybersecurity trainings that are tailored to multiple audiences. So when I said HR, finance, admin, or non-technical audiences, we have training specifically for them. And when I said these organizations might have information security teams or cybersecurity teams, we have trainings that are oriented for them as well, right? So if they need to pursue their cybersecurity careers or improve their knowledge levels, we have trainings that are specifically suited for them as well, right? So let's look at what we feel the market really has and where most of the investments really need to be pushed in. At a global level, the value for cybersecurity has really been growing at a very, very high cumulative annual growth rate, CAGR, if you will. In 2015, what was worth $105 billion is predicted to touch $182 billion in the year 2021. So the growth of the cybersecurity market is across the world happening at a very, very aggressive pace. And we feel that the top trends or the top areas where most of the money that we're looking at on the left is going to be spent are GDPR, the cloud, blockchain, as well as new and evolving trends like artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, as well as big data. I'm a little excited about GDPR. If you haven't heard about it, it's a General Data Protection Regulation. We'll be talking a bit more about this over the next few slides on the training. Cloud, blockchain, of course, these are almost mature technologies today, and there are a huge number of organizations, startups, if you will, that are focused on offering solutions in the blockchain domain. Cybersecurity, it won't be long before cybersecurity reaches the position of priority number one for these technologies, if it is not already there, that is. Right, so we feel that these are the top trends or top technology areas that will be driving cybersecurity investments over the next few years. Now, up here is a slide that is a follow-up to the previous slide. So on the previous slide, we saw that the cybersecurity market as a whole is estimated to be worth more than $180 billion across the world. But within the EMEA region itself, we feel that there is going to be a lot of activity happening. So Europe, Middle East, as well as Africa is expected to account for 35% of the overall market within the year 2019. So we're just talking about the end of next year, wherein as much as $50 billion or $49 billion is to be invested in cybersecurity in the EMEA region. Again, here we feel the top focal areas are again going to be GDPR because it is a Europe initiative largely, plus ransomware and DLP, which really colored the cybersecurity or cybercrime landscape last year, will still be focal areas. And of course, end user awareness, which I just gave you a little bit of a flavor of, will continue to drive major cybersecurity investments in the year 2018 and 19. How do we see the market and how do we approach it? So we have classified the market, especially in the EMEA region, into three major categories. We have the secure and mature enterprises, which is on the top right sector of your pie chart. And then we have technology-oriented enterprises as well as the untargeted small enterprises. So most of the large and mature organizations, they already have a cybersecurity strategy. They have their in-house cybersecurity teams. They already have infrastructure as well as the means to achieve cybersecurity maturity, right? But the middle level as well as the untargeted small sector of SMBs and SMEs, right? These are organizations where the maximum value has to be given really. So these organizations are where we are offering value in terms of our consultancy services, our managed security services, as well as our trainings. And plus, we are not ignoring the mature enterprises as well. We have a whole suite of technology solutions from a range of vendors whose logos we'll be seeing over the next few minutes as well. So we are targeting all the sectors of the market, but in terms of our services, consultancy as well as our trainings, the majority of our focus, the most value can be really given to the developing large enterprises, which is the lower sector, as well as the small and medium businesses, the SMBs as well as the SMEs. Right. With that background, guys, I hope I was able to set the stage for the market really and how we're approaching it. Now, Mavia is going to talk about really how we are offering value to the market in terms of our services. Over to you, Mo.
Thank you very much, Praveen. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Muawiyah speaking from Ingram Micro. I'm the senior consultant leading the technical and consultancy services as part of the cybersecurity portfolio of the Ingram Micro. In this part of the presentation, I'll take you through the three pillars of our cybersecurity offerings. This is basically we're building based on what Praveen has already discussed in the previous slides, which is the people, process, technology. So we have divided our offerings into three main pillars, which is services, training, and vendors. As many of you know, we as an Ingram Micro, historically, we are like a distributor for some of the largest vendors in the cybersecurity space. On top of this, we have added two major pillars to our value-added services, which is the service part and training. Under services, we have the technical assessment services, consultancy services, and managed security services. The technical assessment is where we try to test the security controls of our clients. Basically, we try to simulate attacks through penetration testings and vulnerability assessment. And basically, we think like hackers. This is to test how strong are the deployed security controls at the client side is. In terms of consultancy services, we usually getting approached by clients looking for some kind of advice about how do they address cybersecurity matter in general. We get into discussions with the senior management. We get into discussion with the IT management and security management across the organizations, and this is where we advise them how to approach the cybersecurity in terms of designing cybersecurity programs, developing cybersecurity strategies to enable the business initiatives, doing reviews for their security policies and procedures, conducting risk assessment, access controls, and identification of compliance requirements for the local and international regulations. In terms of managed security services, many of our clients don't really have the skill sets to manage the security in their organizations. And this is where we step in and we provide the skills required to maybe manage their security environment or just maybe just do the monitoring part. So we monitor their security posture and we provide them with the regular alerts about what's really happening in their environment. The training part, as Praveen mentioned, is going to be addressed in details in the upcoming slides. So this slide shows a little bit deeper view about the services that we provide. So in terms of technical assessment services, as you can see on the screen, we have public discovery, we have web application assessment, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, BCI, DSS, scan, data leakage preventions, and configuration review. And this is not meant to be a comprehensive list of all the services we have. As you might know, the requirements from clients might vary, depends on their industry and their location. And therefore, we can customize our services according to the client's requirements. Consultancy services, as I mentioned in the previous slide, includes stuff like governance and strategy, policy and procedures, compliance assessment, risk assessment, multi-vendor architecture, and access control assessment. One thing I would like to emphasize on is because we have access to many vendors in the cybersecurity space, we have two senior security architectures right now in our team who are continuously developing like solutions which involves much more than one vendor to address a specific solution or to address a specific cybersecurity issue. For example, we combine SIM solutions with endpoint solutions with threat intelligence, and then we offer this multi-vendor architecture to the clients to sort out a kind of like an issue in the cybersecurity space. In the managed security services, it depends on the kind of subscription. So some clients, they would like full management of their security environment or their security operations center. And some of them, they just need some kind of resources to be sitting on their on-premise security operations center just to look after the security and manage the devices and maybe monitoring their SIM solutions. And this includes stuff like incident response, digital forensic, threat intelligence, and SOC as a service in general. So in this slide, I'm just showing the sample of statement of services. So for each of the services in the previous slide, we have developed a statement of service which details information about the objective of the services, how do we deliver, the time required for the delivery of the service, and if there is any prerequisites before we start the conduct of the service, and a set of questions and answers and the tools that we use. It's very helpful documents, and we usually share with our business partners so they can in turn share to their clients in case they want to understand more about the service offered. Also, we share with our business partners a sample of our reports. So this is just a snippet of the reports that we usually produce at the end of every engagement. You can see like PDR reports, vulnerability assessment reports, and penetration testing reports. I appreciate that you might not be able to see it like fully on the screen, and that's why we would appreciate if you can just contact us so we can share with you full details of these reports, so you can have an understanding about the type of output that we produce out of every service. So now, knowing the kind of cybersecurity services we offer, we would like just to discuss why it's really important for our business partners. So before we're discussing this, there are like key questions that we would like to kind of raise the awareness of our business partners that they need to understand, and raise those questions whenever they have a discussion with their end clients. So some of the questions are listed on the slides. Basically, those questions are just to get the attention of the client and maybe open like opportunities for discussion about what could be the required cybersecurity services, or what are the issues that the clients are suffering from. In many of the cases, there is a security issue at the clients, but they just don't really know how to handle it, or maybe they don't have the required knowledge or skills to put their hands on these problems. So some of the questions we usually ask our client is like, are you already compromised? Have you had any incident in the past? Are you ready? I mean, to address the attacks that's really happening in the market. And if you recall the slides that Praveen was discussing at the beginning, there is so much going on in the region in terms of like attacks targeting UAE, KSA, and other countries in the region. The other question could be is how strong are your defenses? So many of the clients, they have the impression that they have like secured their perimeters and that's it. So they are secure from outside attacks, but we all know that many of the attacks, they come from the inside, or many of the attacks, they don't even use technology. They use some kind of social engineering. So the only way to know how strong your defenses are by doing an actual testing. For example, doing penetration testing or doing a social engineering test to see the level of awareness your employees have against such kind of attacks. Also, one very important question is how strong the client's incident management capabilities are. And this is very important because many of the major companies, they are getting compromised. So there's no one immune from cyber attacks. Everyone is going to be attacked at a point of time. So it's very important to have strong incident management capabilities to know and identify the incidents in real time, and then be able to take the required actions in a timely manner to reduce the impact of those security incidents once detected. What are the compliance requirements? And this is like getting very, very important in the market, especially with the introduction of GDPR, which Praveen has mentioned a couple of times during his part of this presentation. So it's very important for every company to understand what's their local and international compliance requirements with the local laws and regulations. And in many occasions, the IT department or the information security department, they are not aware that they have to comply with certain laws and regulations in terms of cybersecurity or data privacy. And this is where we come in help. And then because we have like years of expertise in terms of compliance requirements in UAE and in the region and globally. And then we can advise based on our experience, what are the compliance requirements for every company in each industry. Another question could be asked about the awareness of the management. So cybersecurity is not an IT issue anymore. It's a business issue because the impact and the cost of cybersecurity breaches are very high. And this is where the management has to take the action and lead by example and drive the cybersecurity at the corporate level. So it has to be at the agenda of the cybersecurity. The cybersecurity agenda has to be as part of the board of director agenda in every meeting, and they have to keep an eye on the security posture of their companies. Do you have the right processes to manage the security? So having the right technology and raising the awareness of the people is very good, but still you need to have the right processes in place in order to inform the employees and your business partners what's really allowed, what's really not allowed, what kind of policies the company would like to follow in terms of cybersecurity. So these are the questions that usually is asked and discussed with the clients whenever there is a chance to identify what are the issues that might be hidden underneath. And based on this, you can select the type of service that is suitable to address those issues. Now, why it's important for our business partners? Okay, so the whole objective of offering value-added services is basically to increase your sales. So by having the security skills in Ingram Micro available to be used with your clients and to address the cybersecurity issues in the market space that you work in. So you don't have to hire resources. The resources in cybersecurity are very, very expensive. And there is like a really massive shortage in terms of cybersecurity skills. So having the security skills available in Ingram Micro gives you the advantage or the ability to approach the cybersecurity and see how you're going to approach the market and start offering these services to your clients. So by starting the cybersecurity services, this will enable you to sell more products, and this is something you're going to see in the next slide. So you will establish this trust with the clients, you will address their security issues and respond to their security challenges, which will lead, by building the trust, which will lead into more sales of the actual products of cybersecurity. So in this slide, we show you how services are mapped to the sales of the security products. So I've listed here like few examples of the cybersecurity services and how it's going to lead to the sale of additional security product. For example, if you are engaged with the web application security assessment with one of the clients, so usually the output of such services will be a list of web-based security issues such as SQL injection, cross-site scripting attacks, and maybe misconfiguration issues. And to sort out these issues, there is always a need for additional services or a certain product specialized in handling these issues. So for example, in the case of web application assessment, you might be advising the client to buy a web application firewall, which is like a dedicated device to handle the web security issues. Or maybe you can advise an additional service, which is the source code review, and this is something you can get from us. So this is to review the source code of the actual website or the web service and identify the misconfiguration in terms of security. And the rest is the same when it comes to VAVT, compliance assessment, digital forensic, and training and awareness. So each service will have a certain output which will pinpoint a security issue which can be addressed by an additional service or an additional cybersecurity product. So from our experience, since we started offering the services last year, one of the services we offer and we would like to emphasize on in every kind of webinar or every occasion or enablement session with our business partner is the public discovery report. This is a free of charge service. This is basically an information gathering service that we always offer to our business partner because it will break the ice and it will enable you to go and have a discussion with the clients, especially those who don't think they are targeted or who don't think that cybersecurity is an issue for them. So this is a free of charge service. It takes usually around 2 business days to complete per client. And basically we gather public information about the clients that are available on the internet. And this is usually the first phase hackers they do. So for example, if they want to target an Ingram Micro, the first thing they do, they start gathering information as much as possible about the company, its physical location, the type of services offered, and the individual emails, etc. Because based on this information, they will be able to plan their subsequent phases of the attacks and craft their attack plan accordingly. So this is, we believe it's very important, and we have seen many of the reports generated by this service has converted into an actual sale of service or a cybersecurity product. I think this is the side of the cybersecurity services. Now comes the training part, and I'm going to hand over the mic to Praveen.
Thank you, Mo. Okay, I'm back, and I couldn't be more excited because what we're going to be speaking about is the awareness section that I had given you a little bit of a heads up about during the first part of my speech. Guys, like I said, cybersecurity awareness still remains one of the key focal areas for organizations. Just investing in the technology is not sufficient. You have to have processes, which Mavia had very much elaborated in detail over the last few minutes. And lastly, of course, in terms of our three-pronged approach is about awareness, and that is exactly where we have built a whole suite of cybersecurity trainings, which is what you can see up on your slide. So we have classified these trainings depending upon the end user or the audience of the training itself. And for the audience, we have tailored solutions. So for end users who are non-technical people, who are coming from a non-cybersecurity background, we have a suite of trainings called the foundational trainings. And for the cybersecurity team per se, we have very, very targeted trainings on cybersecurity certifications, as well as on the domains of risk, as well as compliance management. And the new addition to our portfolio is a set of trainings that are focused on GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation. And these are trainings that are targeted towards your security teams, as well as your privacy, your data privacy teams. So I'll be talking a little bit about each of these trainings in detail. And then we will move on to the next few slides. So in terms of our foundational trainings, we have a training called the Fundamentals of Information Security. We have CyberSafe, which is a training that can be delivered both online as well as physically, and leads to a certification called the Certified CyberSafe Credential. Plus, we have launched a suite of GDPR-specific trainings called GDPR Foundations, as well as GDPR Implementations. So each of these trainings varies in duration between just about 1 to 2 hours to well about 8 hours. It goes up to one man day itself at the end of the day. And these are oriented towards people who have little to no background in security or privacy. The GDPR Foundations and GDPR Implementations are the new latest additions to the entire suite. And they help to set the tone for GDPR, really what GDPR is and why was it brought about. How do organizations go about addressing the GDPR implications? So these are really covered within these two last trainings. Coming over to the second category, we have cybersecurity certifications, wherein we have a certification for incident responders, which is called the Cybersecurity First Responder Training, a very, very hands-on training with a lot of practical components involved, with a strong lab aspect to it. We also have CompTIA, Network Plus, as well as Security Plus certifications, which are oriented more towards people who are still just starting out their careers in security, as well as the whole field of technology itself. We have CASP, which is a CyberSafe Advanced Security Practitioner. And then we have the Golden Standard of Security Certification, CISSP, as well. We have trainings for each of these certifications, and they stretch out for a period of 5 days, best delivered physically, but of course we can also explore the online option. And most importantly, for GDPR, we have the CIPP Europe, as well as the CIPM trainings. I'm going to park this for now and talk a bit more about these two trainings on the next slide. Continuing over to the third category, we have risk and compliance. We have trainings oriented more towards a risk and compliance professional. So we have a training specifically that talks about how to carry out a formal risk assessment. And then we have methodology-specific trainings, like a training on the NIST SP 830 risk assessment methodology, or the Octave risk assessment methodology, or the ISO 27005 risk assessment methodology. So those of you who are interested in building out a career in the area of risk management, understanding what risk really is, or managing risks for your organizations, you will definitely benefit from these trainings. They stretch out for a period of about 2 days only. They're not as long as the certification trainings, and they have a very strong workshop, hands-on component involved in it as well, and the whole training culminates with this particular hands-on workshop at the end. For those of us in the compliance space, we have training specifically on PCI DSS, as well as an ISO 27001 as well. These are two of the most prominent information security standards pertaining to different areas. Definitely PCI is more towards the security of cardholder data, which is your credit as well as the debit card numbers, whereas ISO 27001 really is all about how to implement and maintain an information security management system, also known as an ISMS. the most popular standards, like I said, in their respective spheres. And we have trainings, again, spread across 2 days, which help you to really understand what these standards are, what the requirements or controls really are, and how you can go about mapping it to your unique organizational landscape, right? And the last category is where we have 2 specific trainings on GDPR, which is CIPP/E as well as a CIPM. I've got a slide speaking specifically on these trainings, so let me give you a quick update on what this is really all about. Guys, just to give you a notification, GDPR, also known as General Data Protection Regulation, it is a new legal regulation, so to speak, which is coming into effect on the 25th of May 2018. Any organization across the world that offers goods and services to a European Union individual has to comply with GDPR. So this is to do away with a common misconception that GDPR really applies only if you're based in the EU. The answer is no. You may be located anywhere in the world, Asia, South Africa, doesn't matter. If you are offering goods or services to an EU individual, or if you're monitoring the behavior, profiling an EU individual, you will have to comply with GDPR. So this is a regulation that is going to bring about a massive change to the area of data privacy regulation. And the fines really are really massive. We have fines going up to the tune of 20 million euro or 4% of your worldwide annual turnover, whichever is higher. And these fines have to be paid out if you are not in sufficient compliance with GDPR. So this regulation is definitely going to have a lot of implications. And what we've seen is organizations still have pretty limited understanding of what GDPR is really all about. Some people still don't understand if it applies to their organization, right? So we have, like I said on the previous slide, we've launched a suite of foundational trainings on GDPR. We just completed the first leg of this GDPR Foundations training, was just done last week, and we got a really good feedback for these training, a lot of good feedback for this training. We look forward to doing more of these sessions with you. But what is more interesting is, or most interesting for the matter, is that GDPR brings in about a new data privacy job description that is known as a data protection officer. So any organization that is a public authority in the EU or who is involved in the large-scale processing of data, personal data belonging to an EU individual, or large-scale monitoring of EU individuals, again, no matter where you're located in the world, you will have to hire a DPO, a data protection officer. This individual has to have relevant qualifications, relevant experience in the area of data protection, and he or she has to be hired by your organization in order to meet one of the many GDPR requirements, right? And 2 of the most relevant certifications that a DPO can hold are the CIPP Europe as well as the CIPM. CIPP/E and CIPM, these are the 2 most important certifications that a DPO can hold. And guess what, guys? We can actually train you or your end customers in terms of completing these certifications. So Ingram Micro is actually partnered with IAPP, the International Association of Privacy Professionals. It is the most eminent premier privacy institution in the world. And we have partnered with them to actually bring these certification trainings to you. So we are more than ready to get going on these trainings. We have experienced trainers, certified trainers as well. In fact, I myself hold the CIPP Europe training, and I'm working towards the CIPM as well. These are 2-day trainings, which can be best delivered physically, but we can also look at the online option if at all you feel that logistics are a constraint. So if you have end customers or within your own partner organizations, you have a requirement for a DPO, or you have a person who is willing to progress towards a position and needs to be certified duly, this is the certifications that they have to pursue. In fact, a conservative estimate is that we'll need at least 75,000 DPO positions to be filled. So we're talking about 75,000 people who need to hold both of these credentials. So there's a huge market that needs to be addressed, and this is where I'm requesting if you get in touch, we can definitely go for on this. Okay. With that, I'd like to thank you for your attention as I spoke, and I'd really like to pass it on to Jessica to come forward with the activities update. Over to you, Jess.
Thank you, Praveen and Muawiyah. So just to give you an update, obviously our cybersecurity website is now live, which is security.ingrammicro.com. Please go over and check it out to stay up to date with all of our latest trainings and webinars and the other services that we have. Also, if you'd like to catch up on any of the previous webinars we've done, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Ingram Micro Cybersecurity. We upload all previous webinars and selected free trainings to ensure you are kept up to date with industry changes and trends. We'd also like you to get social with us. If you have any questions at all regarding anything to do with cybersecurity, please tweet us at IMCybersecurity and we'd be happy to help you out. We'll also be sharing interesting news updates and we're going to be doing blog posts as well, so please check that out. And finally, we've got our monthly Cyber Bite newsletter, so keep an eye out for that. We'll be sending one out at the end of this month. So please make sure if you see it in your junk, whitelist it so it goes straight to your inbox every month moving forward. So we're also meeting with partners and providing enablement sessions at their premises or through WebEx, so just let us know if you need any help with that. And obviously, as Muawiyah touched on, please get in touch with us to get your 2 free PDRs for your end customers. These take about 2 days to do for each one, and we're happy to do them for you. And finally, our trainer, Praveen, who you've just heard from, will be speaking at the Ingram Micro Digital Transformation Summit in India on dark web, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. Please check out the link there to know more information. So finally, this is our vendor portfolio. We've recently signed Palo Alto, and we're also doing the full portfolio for Quest. We're also the official distributor of Sonic Wall in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And again, this is the team. We have some new members. Which is, we have Muna, who's going to be the Cybersecurity Solutions Architect. We've got Shanim and Mohammed Katasha, but you've heard from him on previous webinars. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us at cyber.mita@ingrammicro.com, or please comment below on the YouTube channel and we'll get back to you. Thank you.